I know. Defense is so boring. And you want to learn something really cool. But guess what? There's nothing cool about being the guy flat on his back in the middle of the gym because you just got clipped. Because you got mediocre defense and you're doing exactly what we're going to talk about today. Which is something that I want you to stop. So we're honing in on the massive mistake that people make with their defense, which is just going to leave you at that beginner skill level. Why are you never going to get beyond that beginner skill level? Well, you might look really good when you're hitting the bag or hitting pads, but then all of a sudden, as soon as somebody starts throwing back at you in a sparring session, you're going to start getting gun shy because you got this awful mistake you're making in your defense. And because of that awful mistake, you are not willing to commit properly on your offense. So the offense, which looks really good normally, takes a massive dive. We've got to stop it. And this is something I see time and time again. And we're talking specifically about the hand positioning. The hand positioning has to be on point. And sometimes even high-level fighters are making this mistake. Not all the time, but occasionally. And we're going to dive into all of this. First, two little things that I want to cover. Number one, there's a giveaway for these gloves, which I wore in my last karate combat fight. You can find the link down below and get yourself registered for a chance to win those. They're going to be signed. Number two, we're talking about defense today. If you finish this episode, you're like, wow, I have a lot more that I need to learn about defense and you want to get more advanced. My defense course is $50 off right now. Again, a link down below to Strike Ready Combat. So, when we put up our guard and we want to be defensive, I think there are two good ways if we're not doing footwork and we're not doing head movement. There are two good ways to hold my hands. Number one is in a high guard or a Dutch guard. Number two is more of a Muay Thai thing where we go into our long guard. If we go somewhere in between these two with both arms, we're in a very dangerous position. And this is exactly what I want you to stop doing. And this is where beginner fighters get knocked out. I've seen it so many times. And yes, it can happen at the gym because essentially what we'll see is the person sees some attacks coming. They go, oh, I don't want to get hit by those attacks. The hands come down the middle and you think, okay, I'm safe because my hands are up the middle. But what about everything from the side? And most of the time what will happen is somebody will come in, they'll throw a straight punch, they'll wrap around, or they'll do two straight punches and they'll wrap around. And you get caught not only with your hands way out here, but you get caught not being able to see the hook because your arms out in the middle blocking your view is just going to make this hit you by surprise. And getting hit by surprise is far worse than seeing the shot come. So instead of going, okay, I want to start here and then I see an attack come and I panic and go to here, we want to develop the ability to either, number one, keep our hands tight, lock our hands right to our head, no disconnect to try and block, and we take them right in here. That's a great first option. Option number two, I can put my arm right down the middle and jam up those punches. But I keep my other hand high and I keep the shoulder snug to my chin. So now anything that loops is not going to be able to land. Now, of course, there are alternatives. I could have parrying happening, but again, one hand will be at my head. I could take a fight stance where I'm in here, but I don't want to hold my hands in this position and panic both of them out as my defense. Absolutely terrible thing to do. Now, if you're relatively new to striking sports, that means that in the last year you've started actually sparring, you're probably gonna go, well, how do I drill that? What's the best way? Because realistically, if I just tell you all that and then you go and try and spar tonight and you try to switch up this habit that you have, you're not going to be able to. Because you're not comfortable here and you're not comfortable here enough to stand and weather the storm. When you get really good at both of these, it's easy to stay in here or it's easy to block a shot or two. But when you are not used to these, it's so common to make big mistakes. And once you make a mistake and you get clipped, again, your hands go back to this terrible position. So you get somebody to come in front of you And they step in with about this intensity that I'm going to show you. They step in and they go maybe 3 punches. And you just stand your ground and you go, okay, I'm doing my high guard. Hands don't leave my head, but they can shift because you can't constantly be covering everything. There's always a hole. And I don't want to do this and keep my body completely open, so there's always a hole. So you have to close off those holes. You just stand there and you go, okay, there's a jab, across, a hook, a hook. Your hands stay tight to your head. Alternatively, they come in for their punches and you stick the long guard out. My problem with the long guard, or I suppose even the high guard, is you don't want to stay there indefinitely. So it's better off to go long guard and try and shift out of place. Use footwork, or long guard, stop them for a couple and then return back to here as you take that step back. Don't get caught up in this idea that I have to stay here for 5, 6 punches, because any amount of time past 3 punches where you're just standing there essentially being a bag, there's a good chance somebody's going to start landing through your guard and onto your head. That's when the problems start. So the ability to be, okay, I'm in this position, I've blocked a few punches, okay, now I shove them backwards or I go to that long guard and then I use my footwork to be able to flow between head movement, footwork, high guard, long guard, and any other positions that you might want to fight in. I like this one. Very often I'll have my right hand to my head, but my left hand slightly in front. As long as you can maneuver between these, you're going to do great. So there's the tip today for your defense. We do not want hands coming out to deal with the initial attacks. We either want to commit one hand out or keep both hands tight, and that will save you so much grief. Again, somebody just comes in front of you, they pitter patter away, and you just get used to blocking some footwork, make them chase you occasionally. That's all you need to do. Slow and steady, don't rush it. If you're blinking and somebody's throwing at you, that means you're scared, which means you're going to develop bad habits. Slow the pace down until your eyes on them are rock solid. No blinks when you don't need them, no fear. Then you go, oh, that's easy, a little faster, week by week, a little faster, a little faster. I'll see you guys back here soon.